the perfect day exercise. What's so wild about this exercise is that several, not all, but several of the things that I imagined in that exercise have come to be reality. Dr. Martha Beck, welcome.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Andrew. Thank you.
I'm so excited. I mean, I don't know how to convey to the people listening and watching just how excited I am. I have very few heroes in life, but you are one of them.
I don't.
It's true.
That does not compute.
It's true. I won't name all of them, but you, the great Oliver Sacks, are among the people that have really influenced me so much in terms of the things I do, the ways I try and think, the ways I try to not think at times. And your life story is an amazing one. So we have a lot to cover today. Yay. So I'm not going to spend any more time talking about why I feel that way, because it's going to just become apparent in our discussion. But I do want to say that you have really been ahead of your time. You're triple degreed from Harvard, you have these academic credentials, and yet you were one of the first people to be public facing about the mind-body connection in a way that is operationalized, what we sometimes call, in and around this podcast, protocols.
Yeah.
And you've offered some practices that have absolutely transformed my life and other people's lives. And I gained them through reading your books, and that's not a standard book advertisement, but all of your books have been transformative for me. One of the exercises that has had a profound effect on my life is the perfect day exercise.
Oh, yeah.
And when I first read about it, I thought, what could this possibly be? And as I recall, it involved taking a little bit of time, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and just sitting or lying down, closing one's eyes, and just imagining with no limitations one's perfect day.
Yeah.
And what's so wild about this exercise is that several, not all, but several of the things that I imagined in that exercise have amazingly come to be reality.
It works. I don't know how or why it works, but I used to have people send me a postcard. This is how long I've been doing this stuff. Now it's emails and texts, but I'd say, okay, we just did your ideal day. You've got it all written down. Now send me a notification when that day happens. And I get a lot of notifications.
Okay, well, I'm giving you a notification right now, because at the end of that exercise, and I ended up doing it several times.
I do too. I do it all the time.
Okay, that's good to know. I want to know about the frequency there. I'd love to sit down and talk to Martha Beck, what I wouldn't do. So I'm in a pinch me moment right now.
This is so great.
It's wild. It's like reality weaving back on itself.
And I've listened to your podcast, and I thought, that guy's really cool. And here I am.
Oh, thank you. I'm moved by that. So let's just talk about this exercise for a second.
Cool, yeah.
Clearly, we could come up with scientific explanations for why it would work. The brain is a predictive machine. Once it understands that something might be possible, maybe it looks for avenues for that unconsciously. We could come up with a whole narrative around that. Yeah. But just for sake of those listening, what is this exercise? How would you suggest somebody try it?
So the first thing is that you don't make up something. People would always tell me they'd make up a day where they woke up in a white room with white sheets and windows with white curtains, and then they would put on white clothes and drift around. And I realized finally that these people were just tired, and they could not project anything but a sort of blankness that I finally realized meant that they just pushed themselves too hard. So I stopped doing this with people until they were well rested. Then you don't make it up, you see it happen. That's the key thing. You allow it into your mind, not as though you're reaching with your imagination, just as though it emerges. So I talk people through it. First thing is you wake up in the morning, you're perfectly refreshed by a beautiful sleep. In your imagination, don't open your eyes, but listen. What do you hear? So you don't make it up. You listen for it. What do you hear?
For me, the first thing I hear is like just feeling how comfortable my body is on the bed. It's something that I don't do enough. Right.
What about the sound of someone or someone's breathing?
Yeah, someone next to me breathing, and they're still asleep.
Ah, lovely. Is there a dog breathing on the foot of the bed?
Well, if it was like my bulldog Costello that's snoring, I'm going to get another dog soon. So I would like a dog that breathes with less snoring than Costello. Although I must say I miss his
bulldogs.
His like incredibly deep snores. The early versions of this podcast, the early episodes, we kept him in the room snoring. And by the way, the watering up of my eyes, these are truly tears of joy. And I said at the beginning of the podcast, I said, listen, I have a bulldog. He's getting toward the end of his life, so we're going to keep him in the room. And so when you hear that breathing in the background, that snoring, let's call it what it is, he's in here. Like, so sorry, not sorry. So yeah, so there's some bulldog breathing.
You can have as many dogs in the room as you want. Just listen. And maybe you hear birds outside. Maybe you hear the ocean. Maybe you hear wind. Maybe you hear people talking or the noise of traffic. Just listen for a minute until you're pretty sure you've heard everything there is to hear.
Yeah, I like the sound of kids playing.
Ah, sweet. Okay, so smell the air. What's it like? How humid is it? What's the temperature?
I'm a Californian at heart. I like it in the 70s and 80s.
Perfect.
Not too humid. And it's weird that a don't jumps in, but there's something about the sound of airplanes flying over.
Interesting.
That always depresses me. It must be some paired association from some time. Like, I don't like that.
Okay, no planes.
So bird chirping. Who doesn't like birds chirping?
And by the way, for our listeners, this is not one magical day that you'll never live again. This is a typical day, but your life is now perfect. So it's an ordinary day, but in your perfect life. So put it out 3 years, 5 years, whatever makes it possible for you to allow that your ideal life could form in that time. You'll find as you do it many times, the time necessary for it to happen becomes much shorter. Anyway, so you get up, look around you, sit up in the bed, look around. Who's next to you? What does the dog look like? What does the room look like?
Yeah, it's my partner next to me. My dog is, I told myself I wasn't going to get another bulldog.
Oh, you are.
But I think I'm going to get another bulldog.
Are.
They're the best.
Yeah.
They're like the essence of efficiency of metabolism, meaning they do as little as possible and they experience as much joy as possible.
Oh, that's perfect.
They're hedonists when it really comes down to it.
You need a wise hedonist in your life.
Right. And they are capable of protecting if they need to, but I honestly don't care about that. all that stuff, like all that, like my bulldogs, I don't care about any of that.
Something tells me you could protect yourself pretty well.
Yeah, I'm good there. So
I'll look around the room. What color are the walls? What pictures are hanging there, if any?
Recently, I saw a caption. I don't know if this is true because it was an Instagram post that the woman in the field image.
Christina's World.
That I didn't know the name of it. Thank you. That this was a neighbor of theirs that had a degenerative neural condition.
Yeah.
And rather than use a wheelchair of sorts, she insisted on crawling everywhere. And so that image is actually of her crawling out into the field happily to enjoy the field.
I know.
Because my impression of the painting before was that somehow because she's seated up there, it looks like, in my mind, I projected onto it that there's some like desperation there or something to get back to the house. But that's not it at all. Turns out this is a woman who preferred to move with her own agency, even if it meant crawling to enjoy nature. And
it's a magnificent painting.
It's a magnificent painting.
So it's on the wall there.
Yes. Maybe not the original, although that would be awesome.
Why not? It's your perfect
Then
life.
I'm waking up in the Met.
And also just notice that you're creating a theme, which is the theme is I will go out as myself and I will reach and strive for things. And I'm not here to be helped. I'm here to do hard things and to do them for the joy of it. So that's what that painting is, a strong symbol of who you are. So get out of the bed and your partner's still sleeping, the dog's still sleeping. Go look out the window. Where are you? And you can be anywhere.